We use least common multiple to compare fractions. We can compare two fractions to find out which one is greater or less, or we could compare three fractions or more and put them in order from least to greatest or greatest to least. So your first step is to stack up your fractions. Whatever fractions they give you in the problem, go ahead and stack those up. Your second step is to go ahead and begin setting up equivalent fractions like we've done here. We've got these equal signs and we've got new fraction bars. Your third step, you need to go ahead and find the least common denominator. So in order to do that, we've got to count up by multiples for each one of these denominators. So we'll start with 2. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and I'll stop right there and I'll observe, and I can tell if I look down here at this denominator 4, I can see that it's going to cross here at 4, but I still don't know about 16, so I need to continue. 12, 14, and finally we can tell that this will cross at 16, and we know that 4 should cross there as well because it was a multiple here. Let's test it to be sure. 4, 8, 12, 16, and we see it crosses at 16. And of course, if we're going to count out by multiples of 16, we could say 16, and next of course would be 32, but we don't need to go that high. We can tell that the least common denominator is 16. So we can use that new denominator and now all that's left in setting up our equivalent fractions is finding the numerator. Now in order to find the numerator, all you have to do is look and compare the two denominators for your old fraction and the new fraction that you're creating that's equivalent to it. So we have to think to ourselves, 2 times what gave us 16? Well, if you're not sure, you can always count up your multiples here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, 8. 2 times 8 is 16. Whatever I multiply by in the denominator, I also have to do the same thing in the numerator if it's going to be equal. So I'll also multiply by 8 up here. And 1 times 8 equals 8. And our new fraction is 8/16. Same thing here. 4 times, well, we could check it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 4 times 4 is 16. If I multiply by 4 down here, I have to do the same thing in the numerator. So 3 times 4 is 12. And finally, 16 times 1, we only went once, would be 16. So I'm going to have to multiply by 1 up here as well, and 10 times 1 is 10. Now I can compare these fractions and see which ones are greater or least, or I can put them in order from least to greatest or greatest to least. So I'm going to try and do that out to the side here where you can still see. We'll take a look here and we can see, let's say we want to put them in order from least to greatest. Let's take the least. Well, what would the least be? The least would be 8/16, 8 out of 16 pieces. That's also a half. So we would go back to our original fraction to list these. Half, comma, and then 8/16, and of course next would be 10/16, and that one did not change. And finally, we see that 12/16 would be the greatest, and that is 3 out of 4, 3/4. So that's how we use LCM to compare fractions.